After drugging Charles, I awakened to the plot of the vicious supporting female character. It turned out that Charles was the devoted second male lead in a CEO novel, and after I drugged him, he was forced to give up on the female lead. From then on, he harbored a deep hatred for me, ultimately causing my family to be ruined and personally sending me to prison. The sudden plot that appeared in my mind sent a chill down my spine. My hand, which had been reaching for his belt, felt as if it had been scalded, and I scrambled off the bed in a panic, but the next second, I was pulled into the embrace of the man behind me. Charles's eyes were tinged with red at the corners, his clothes half undone, and his usually aloof and roguish face was now filled with an unsatisfied, feverish desire. "Why did you stop? Why did you stop?" Charles's voice was hoarse as he held me tightly, the scent of his cool sandalwood fragrance filling my nostrils. His warm breath brushed past my ear, making me shiver from the ticklish sensation. I couldn't resist turning back to look. Charles lay half reclined on the bed, the corners of his eyes flushed red. His usually cold and elegant features were now filled with desire, completely reflecting my image. His shirt was already half undone to his waist, and I could reach out and touch his firm waistline. This scene made my brain surge with blood. But the plot still playing in my mind kept reminding me of the danger. The world we were in was from a sweet romance novel called The Runaway Wife and Mommy. The female lead, Bella, is a simple-minded yet incredibly resilient innocent girl. While working at a KTV, she meets the male lead, Harry, and the second male lead, Charles. Both gradually fall in love with her as they interact, and I, the vicious female supporting character, have liked the childhood friend, the second male lead Charles, since I was young, but I never got any response from him. Finally, at a party, I made a move on Charles. After a night of recklessness, I unexpectedly got pregnant, and Charles was forced into a marriage alliance with me. From then on, he harbored a deep hatred for me. After he orchestrated my family's bankruptcy, my brother got into a car accident, and my parents died unexpectedly. Later, he also sent me to prison. The day I entered prison, the sky was overcast, and the rain poured down heavily. And I, with my love-struck mind, still had tears in my eyes until that moment, foolishly asking him, "Didn't you ever have a single moment of affection for me all these years?" His expression remained unchanged as he coldly replied, "Every second I spent with you made me utterly disgusted." My thoughts returned, and looking at Charles behind me, I felt a cold sweat break out. The hatred in his tone still echoed in my ears. I struggled out of his embrace, jumped off the bed, and stood 2 meters away from him. Charles gradually regained his clarity, watching my series of actions with a cold gaze. I glanced at his expensive shirt, now crumpled from my grip, and forced an awkward smile. "It's all a misunderstanding. I had too much to drink and mistook you for someone else. Let's just pretend nothing happened. See you later." With that, I didn't dare to look back again and quickly made my escape. The next day, my friend Linda and a group of girlfriends invited me to have drinks at a bar. As soon as we met, Linda smirked and nudged me, saying, "Sarah, how did things go last night?" I ignored her and downed a glass of wine by myself. The girls looked at each other, not understanding why I was reacting this way. Seeing my serious expression, Linda stroked her chin thoughtfully. Could it be that Charles is inadequate? Facing their confused and shocked expressions, I let out a deep sigh. "Girls, I'm in deep trouble." Everyone was baffled by my strange expression. Before they could ask more, a loud noise suddenly erupted from the crowd. We all turned to look at the source of the voice and saw the delicate female lead, Bella, standing alone in the crowd, her beautiful face filled with helplessness. A greasy, chubby-faced man was holding her hand and refusing to let go. "This outfit of mine is worth tens of thousands. Do you think a simple, sorry, is enough? No way. You have to give me an explanation today." The drunken man continued to shout while gripping Bella's wrist. Just as we were about to go down to check the situation, Charles and the male lead, Harry, arrived at the scene. I paused on the stairs, silently watching Charles approach Bella. His face, as usual, showed little expression, and a coldness beneath his eyelashes made him seem unapproachable. Yet his protective gesture toward Bella was overly gentle, so gentle that it made my heart ache with swelling pain. Bella looked up with tears in her eyes and called out pitifully, "Charles." My eyes felt sore, yet I still watched Charles's movements as if punishing myself. it'll get better after a few more desensitization sessions, I comforted myself. Downstairs, Charles seemed to sense something, his sharp and cold gaze sweeping over. I lowered my head to avoid his eyes. The sisters behind me saw Charles protecting Bella and cautiously observed my expression. Linda glanced at me a few times and carefully said, "Charles was probably just standing up for what's right. Sarah, don't overthink it." One of the sisters behind me rolled her eyes and nudged Linda, signaling her to shut up. The uncle downstairs scurried away as soon as Charles and Harry arrived. I stopped paying attention to what was happening downstairs, picked up my bag, and said to Linda and the others, "I have something to do, I'm going home first." Then I went downstairs and left the bar. When I got home, my brother happened to be working from home. He looked at me with some surprise and said, "Mrs. back so early today." I ignored him, walked straight to the kitchen, poured a cup of coffee, and handed it to him. My brother's eyes widened slightly, looking a bit flattered. "What's wrong, young lady? Running out of money, brother? Arrange a meeting for me with that Hong Kong socialite Bruce." My brother paused mid-sip of his coffee. "What's going on? Aren't you chasing after your Charles anymore? What's the use of men? I want to contribute to the family business too." I hugged my brother's arm and said coquettishly, "Ever since I woke up to the plot yesterday, I've been thinking about this issue. Because I mistakenly loved Charles, I ended up causing the tragic deaths of my brother and parents, all because of a man. Now that I know the plot, how can I, as a spoiled, good-for-nothing rich second generation who just idles around waiting to die, change this outcome? Our family doesn't need to sell our daughter to keep the business afloat. Sarah, your brother, mom, and dad only want you to be happy." My brother affectionately patted my head, and my nose suddenly stung with emotion. I threw myself into his arms, sobbing, "Such a loving family." Finally, I managed to make an appointment with Bruce. As we sat in the restaurant, I smoothed my slightly wavy long hair and carefully observed the man sitting across from me. He was dressed in a custom-made suit, with sharp and clean facial contours, high-set brow bones, and carried himself with the poised demeanor of a gentleman in every move. "Thank you," Bruce smiled and said to the waiter serving the dishes. I silently gave him extra points in my mind, knowing when to advance and when to retreat. Polite and principled, even without love, I thought. Life with someone like this wouldn't be bad. While we were having a pleasant conversation, my earring accidentally got tangled in my hair, and my earlobe turned red and swollen from the strain. I tilted my head, trying hard to free my earring. Seeing this, Bruce leaned in slightly and asked, "Do you need help? Such a misaligned deviation looks like a kiss to outsiders." "Sarah," a male voice sounded behind us. I turned around and saw that it was Harry and Charles. Harry's inquisitive gaze fell upon me and Bruce beside me, while Charles beside him had a dark expression, looking very much like a husband who had caught his spouse in an affair. I took off the earring and placed it in my palm. Without looking at Charles, I gave Harry a slight nod and then ignored them. Harry recognized him as the CEO from Hong Kong who had recently expanded his business to the mainland. So he walked over and greeted Bruce again. Charles stood beside me, the faint, cool scent of sandalwood boldly filling my nostrils. I lowered my head to cut the steak, my slightly wavy hair falling over my shoulders just enough to block Charles's direct gaze, but my mind couldn't help but recall that embarrassing, blush-inducing night. "My mom said you haven't come over for dinner in a while. Come to my place with Yen Xiu tomorrow for a meal." My jumbled thoughts were abruptly interrupted by Charles's voice. I was silent for a moment, and without looking up, I replied, "My brother has something to do tomorrow, and I've also made plans with friends." "Sorry, Auntie." The plot of The Awakening made my resentment grow stronger, and as if possessed, I added, "You can ask Bella to go." Charles didn't say anything, and I continued cutting my steak, pretending to be busy. It wasn't until the scent of sandalwood faded away that my tense body slowly relaxed. The reason I refused is simply that, first, I really have a housewarming party scheduled with Linda tomorrow. And second, since learning about the plot, my feelings toward Charles have become very complicated. I resent him for being so ruthless, and I resent myself for disregarding everything for the sake of love. But whenever he appears, the affection that I've suppressed with reason seems to be triggered by a specific program. This conflicting emotion makes me react defensively as soon as I see Charles now. I detest him, and I detest my foolish self. Bruce looked thoughtfully at me, who was in a daze. and at Charles, who was walking away. It just so happened that Bruce had some business dealings with the Lynn family recently. The next day, I invited Bruce to join me at Linda's newly purchased villa on the mountainside for her housewarming party. The gift I gave her was my recent painting. I've always liked ink wash painting, but when I was a child, Charles mocked it, saying it looked like ghost scribbles, and my interest gradually faded. After the awakening plot, with nothing else to do, I picked up this hobby again. As soon as I entered the door with the gift, I saw a few uninvited guests. Harry is on the balcony, teaching Bella how to play a board game. Charles is leaning against the turmeric-colored sofa, his hair slightly covering his eyes, his jawline soft. Hearing the sound of me opening the door, his deep and profound gaze shifts over. Our eyes meet in the air, and then he turns to look at Bruce beside me. I avert my gaze first, so I missed the heavy gloom in his eyes. Linda smiled as she came forward, took the gift from my hand, and then whispered in my ear, "I don't know why Bella came along either." "Sorry, sis." I waved my hand, chatted with the girls for a while, and then headed toward the poolside. I lay idly on the lounge chair by the pool, scrolling through the trending gossip. Someone suddenly appeared on the lounge chair beside me. I looked up and saw that it was the innocent female lead, Bella. Instantly, a bad feeling washed over me. I stood up to leave, but Bella suddenly grabbed my wrist, frowning in confusion. I saw a smile on her face as she whispered softly, "I'm sorry." The next moment, I felt a strong pull, and we both fell into the swimming pool. The cold water rushed into my mouth and nose, contorting my face in agony as I helplessly tried to grasp at something. Someone seemed to be shouting from the shore. As my consciousness began to fade, I saw a figure swimming toward me. When I woke up again, I was already in the hospital. Bruce was pushing the door open, holding a thermos. He had a refined face, with gentle and clear eyes that gave off a friendly and approachable vibe. "You're awake. Perfect timing. I've got some warm water ready. Did you save me?" As soon as I spoke, I felt a sharp, unbearable dryness and pain in my throat. Bruce poured me a glass of water. The gentle sunlight streamed through the window, casting a soft glow on his elegant figure, his expression tender. "Have a drink of water first." I took the water cup and suddenly remembered Bella, who had dragged me into the swimming pool. I quickly straightened up and asked, "Where is Bella?" "She was rescued by Mr. Harry, and is currently fine." I slowly sipped the water, letting my mind wander into conspiracy theories. It was clear that she had deliberately dragged me into the pool, but why would she do that? What benefit would she gain from it? I was completely puzzled when the doctor came for rounds. The doctor said there was nothing seriously wrong, and since I didn't like the smell of disinfectant either, I was discharged early and went home. After returning home, Charles surprisingly called me a few times, but I was in the shower and missed them. When I saw the missed calls later, I thought it might be the same old story, the devoted second male lead questioning why I was so vicious as to push his Bella. I pouted with my phone in hand, thinking it's better to avoid trouble. So I didn't reply to him. During this time, I'd been resting quietly at home, painting in the studio during the day, enjoying a leisurely and pleasant life. I saw Charles again 2 weeks later at the welcome party for my childhood friend returning to the country. I was afraid of running into the main characters and causing more trouble, so I originally wanted to decline, but Jim, my childhood friend, kept pestering me relentlessly, given our lifelong friendship. I had no choice but to reluctantly tidy up a bit and head to the private room he had reserved. As soon as I entered the room, Jim pushed me into the seat next to Charles. He knew I had liked Charles since we were kids and gave me a mischievous wink. I was completely speechless and really wanted to shout, "Times have changed, bro." Charles was quietly drinking beside me, not even glancing in my direction. Of course, he must have thought that I, the vicious supporting female character, had just pushed his female lead into the water and was still fuming with anger. I also remained indifferent, leaning against the sofa and scrolling through my phone. With one hand scrolling through my phone, the other reached toward the fruit plate on the table. I lost my grip, and the cherry tomato rolled down the curve of the table like a roller coaster. I quickly reached out to catch it, but a hand with distinct knuckles was faster, cupping beneath mine. I instinctively pulled my hand back, the touch warm and fleeting. My heart raced as I looked up, and Charles turned to meet my gaze. I avoided eye contact. The back of my hand that had been touched felt as if it had been scorched by fire. I sat up straight, feeling rather uneasy. Harry brought Bella along. It was clear that Bella had dressed up specially today. Her smooth black hair, a white dress, and her delicate face made her look like the female lead from a youth angst novel. My childhood friend Jim has always been one for stirring up fun. Seeing that almost everyone had arrived, after playing dice and a round of answering questions irrelevantly, he grabbed a bottle and started clamoring to play Truth or Dare. The first round started with Jim. The bottle wobbled and stopped in front of Bella. Bella widened her doe-like eyes, as startled as a little rabbit, then smiled somewhat sheepishly and said, "Truth." Then, Jim thought about how she had come with Harry, and seeing how Harry was taking care of her in every possible way, it seemed like they were either already in a relationship or very close to it, so, he cleared his throat, intending to give them a little push. "Is there someone you like here?" Bella immediately blushed. But unexpectedly, she didn't look at Harry. Instead, she glanced at Charles. Everyone's hearts instantly tightened, and their gossipy eyes darted back and forth among the three of them. She bit her red lips with her pearly teeth, her eyes shy and hesitant, and softly said, "Yes." There was no expected teasing or commotion. Everyone looked at each other, and finally, their gazes settled on me, except for Bella. Everyone at the table had been childhood friends. They all knew about my long-standing pursuit of Charles since we were kids. Now, was someone else trying to cut in halfway, and what was going on with Harry? As for the people at the center of this storm, upon hearing her answer, Charles didn't even lift his eyes, appearing completely indifferent. His slender fingers lit a cigarette. I appeared calm on the surface, but Harry seemed a bit distracted. It was Bella's turn to spin the bottle. With her delicate hands, she spun the bottle gently. Whether intentional or not, it landed squarely in front of Charles. He showed little interest, lifted his eyelids slightly, and said in a hoarse voice, "Truth." A blush rose again on Bella's delicate face. "Is there someone you like here?" Amid the hazy smoke, his face was unclear to me, but I could faintly make out his profile with its high nose and thin lips. Everyone held their breath, waiting for his answer. And then they heard him speak softly yet clearly, "Yes." Gasps rippled through the crowd. It was Charles, the coldest and most reserved of them all. He actually had someone he liked, and that person was right here. His words were like a sudden clap of thunder on a calm day, stunning everyone into speechlessness. They all felt that this party was worth attending just to hear Charles's revelation. Amidst the collective astonishment, only I remained unfazed, not only unshocked but even thinking, as expected. No matter how cold the second male lead's personality may be, he still has a heart, and that heart, fittingly enough for a romance novel, is devoted solely to the female lead. It's all too predictable. Ignoring the questioning looks from the crowd, Charles held the bottle with his slender fingers. He didn't even turn around, just aimed directly in my direction. Everyone was left bewildered by his bold move. Could it really be done this way? His features were strikingly refined. And even when sitting idly with no particular expression, he exuded an unignorable aura of elegance. But now he was staring intently at me, his cool gaze seemingly able to pierce straight into the heart. Everyone held their breath, anticipating what he would ask me, and then he spoke. "I called you many times. Why didn't you answer?" My dark pupils dilated, my back stiffened slightly, and I looked at him in disbelief. Jim slapped the table excitedly and let out a loud exclamation. "Oh!" Sounds rose and fell all around. Only Bella turned pale. His next question completely ignored the rules, attacking me like a rapid-fire barrage. "I sent my assistant to take care of you. When I finished handling company matters and went to the hospital, the doctor said you had already been discharged. You avoided coming to my house for dinner last time. Are you avoiding me?" Since childhood, no one has ever heard the usually taciturn Charles speak so many words in one breath. Although his tone was calm, anyone could hear the unmistakable and overwhelming sense of grievance hidden within it. I stared blankly at Charles, who was frowning across from me, waiting for my answer. Jim and everyone scrutinizing, gossip-filled gazes made me feel completely exposed. I stood up, pulled Charles out of the private room, and as soon as we reached a secluded spot, I raised my voice and asked, "Are you crazy? What are you doing?" The corners of his lips lifted slightly, but there wasn't a trace of a smile in his eyes. "What I really want to know is, who did you mistake me for that day?" I opened my mouth but had no words. He then added, "You touched every part of my body, and now you don't want to take responsibility. Am I some kind of toy you can play with as you please? Answer me, Sarah." I stood frozen in place. Was this the Charles the First knew? Such harsh words coming from Charles. The day I was sent to prison. His indifferent and distant face gradually overlapped with the aggrieved expression he wore now, frowning as he sought justice for himself. In the end, I fled in panic. I sat on the bed in my bedroom, looking at the moon outside, feeling that the world was becoming increasingly eerie, unreal. I felt as if I were stepping on cotton. So, what does Charles mean? Is it what I think it means? I carefully reviewed the situation. Could it be because he thought I was the one who pushed Bella into the water? If the plot hadn't awakened and I were still that obsessive supporting female character, he could easily take revenge. But now I'm completely ignoring the main characters, so the female lead's knight, the second male lead, chose this way to get back at me. I've already been distancing myself from the main characters and starting my own life over again. Why are the main characters still haunting me like ghosts? The more I think about it, the more restless I become. If he's determined to retaliate, with my level of cunning, I'm absolutely no match for Charles. I sent a text to my brother who is still on a business trip abroad, telling him to be careful of Charles. After pacing the floor for a long time, I finally sent a text to Charles as well. I never pushed Bella. If you don't believe me, check the surveillance footage. After that, I blocked and deleted him in one go, finally feeling a little more at ease. Early the next morning, I was cornered at home by Charles, who had suddenly come to visit. There might be a misunderstanding between us. Can we talk? I walked to the garden, crossed my arms, and turned my back to him. The atmosphere made me feel a bit uneasy, so I urged, "Go ahead, say it, I have nothing to do with Bella." Hearing this, I rolled my eyes and retorted, "I never said you two had anything going on. But you seem to care about her a lot." Just hearing the name Bella reminded me of how she inexplicably pushed me into the swimming pool. I immediately flared up, turned around, and retorted coldly, "What does she have to do with me? Why would I care about her? Or is it that you care about her, so you jump to conclusions whenever someone does something? It's really absurd, Charles. If all you want to talk about is this, I don't think we need to continue. Don't worry, I don't like you anymore. And I won't do anything to Bella. Please make sure to keep an eye on her and tell her not to provoke me." After saying that, I ignored Charles's suddenly changed expression and turned to leave. As I passed by him, Charles tightly grabbed my wrist. His sharp eyes now held a nearly shattered panic. "That's not what I meant." The tone of utter disgust he had when I entered prison, and the tragic final state of my parents and brother, often jolt me awake in the middle of the night. Drenched in cold sweat, perhaps I've gradually let go, or perhaps I just don't want to repeat the same mistakes. Looking at his expression now, I felt no emotion inside, only letting out a scornful laugh. "Then what do you mean, Charles? I was afraid you'd find me utterly disgusting, so I left on my own, keeping my distance from all of you. Isn't that enough? Why are you the one clinging to me now, just to make me miserable?" After saying these words, my heart ached as if it were being twisted tightly, but I still refused to lower my head, glaring at him fiercely. "When have I ever thought you were disgusting? Don't say such angry words. It hurts me too. Bella has nothing to do with me either. Are you upset about what happened at the bar last time? If you don't like it, I won't have any more contact with her." Charles's hands still held onto mine tightly, refusing to let go. Usually reserved, he now seemed somewhat flustered and at a loss. "Huh, what do you mean by that now? You don't like me, do you?" "Yes, I like you." His straightforwardness left my mind blank, and the words I had planned to retort with were swallowed back before they could leave my lips. I forced myself to remain calm after a long silence. "You like Bella, you just haven't realized it yet. Even if you don't like her now, you will in the future. I don't want to get involved in your relationship. I don't want to gamble with his sincerity. The stakes are too high, and I can't afford to lose." So I took a deep breath and continued, "If you really like me, don't contact me again in the future. For the sake of all these years of affection, Bruce and I are still in a stable relationship, but every time we meet, it feels more like a formal business meeting." Bruce invited me to be his +1 at a corporate banquet in the capital. As soon as I arrived at the place where I usually get my styling done, I ran into Bella, who had just changed into her evening gown, and Harry, who was accompanying her. I heard that the Taylor family has been arranging blind dates for Harry recently, and his way of resisting them is to bring Bella to various events even more frequently, but what happens to the main characters is none of my business. However, I still haven't gotten back at her for pushing me into the swimming pool. By the time Bruce and I arrived at the hotel, there were already many people there. To match the evening gown today, I wore a pair of high heels that were a bit uncomfortable, but on the surface, she still gracefully and elegantly held on to Bruce's arm, exchanging pleasantries everywhere. Looking up, she saw Bella, dressed exquisitely, holding onto Harry's arm in the center of the crowd, laughing and chatting cheerfully. Meanwhile, Charles was holding a wine glass on the other side, surrounded by many people. Seeing this scene, Linda said softly, "I heard that Aunt Taylor really dislikes her and even tried to pay Bella off with a check." Who knew Bella had such strong principles? She tore up the check on the spot, saying Aunt Taylor was insulting their love, and then went and told Harry about it. Now Harry and Aunt Taylor's relationship is as tense as fire and water, and look at her now, basking in the limelight beside Harry. The whole circle is saying she's clinging to Harry while also flirting with other rich young men. Many have fallen for her tricks. I took a light sip of red wine, listening to Linda's gossip. It's such a common thing. Rebellious playboys, tired of extravagant feasts, suddenly develop a taste for plain congee and simple dishes. Although Bella comes from a poor family, she exudes an air of innocence, as if she knows nothing of the world, and a kind of foolish pride. It's a novelty that we, well-bred young ladies who have seen it all, can't offer them. She would take them to eat beef noodles from a dusty street stall, and she would take them to play with cheap, low-quality sparklers that cost just €1 for a large handful. I heard that a few days ago, she took Harry home in the rain because she didn't want to be wasteful by spending money on a taxi. Later, I heard that Harry had a fever for 3 days after getting caught in the rain and even developed acute gastroenteritis. Ah, how romantic, not interested in hearing their gossip anymore. I slipped away to the rooftop to get some fresh air. I hadn't been on the rooftop long when familiar footsteps sounded from the doorway. Charles slowly approached me with a band-aid in his hand, seemingly having completely forgotten our last conversation. Sitting on the rooftop swing, I avoided his touch, took the band-aid from his hand, and calmly said, "Thank you. I saw the paintings you posted on social media. They're very well done. I have a friend who works at an art academy and is particularly skilled in ink wash painting. If you're interested, I can introduce you to him." I didn't respond, but Charles continued talking to himself. Finally unable to bear his nagging, I coldly interrupted, "Have you forgotten, when we were kids, you said my paintings looked like ghostly scribbles?" Charles pursed his lips and fell silent for a moment. "Because that day, you were drawing Jim." The silent atmosphere when Charles and I exchanged wordless glances was broken by Bella's appearance at the door. "Charles," Bella's voice was soft and delicate. Charles stood completely in front of me, so Bella didn't notice my presence. Charles glanced sideways slightly. His eyelids were thin, and his lowered lashes were extremely dark. A gentle evening breeze passed by, with only dappled moonlight illuminating his profile, making him appear even more aloof and indifferent. Biting her lip, Bella spoke cautiously, "I heard from Harry that you like Hunan cuisine the most. I've recently learned a couple of dishes. Would you like to come to my place sometime? As a way to thank you for helping me out at the bar last time." I sat leisurely on the swing, watching the ambiguous tension between the female lead and the second male lead up close. Charles's expression remained unchanged, but his words were sharp and cutting, showing no mercy. "It's not that I love Hunan cuisine, it's that Sarah loves it, so I just go along with it. Last time at the bar, it was only for Harry's sake, but you deliberately leaned into my arms. Did you ever consider Harry's feelings, and those messages you send me every day on my work WeChat? They're really causing me a lot of trouble." Miss Bella's face, which had been flushed, turned pale upon hearing these words. Teardrops as big as beans hung from her lashes, and her delicate, sorrowful beauty made even me feel a pang of pity. "How are you, Charles? Sorry to interrupt you." A male voice interrupted Bella's sobbing. Harry was leaning against the door behind Bella. His face was gloomy, and he stared at Bella without blinking. It was unclear when he had arrived or how much he had heard. Bella was instantly flustered, staring blankly at Harry, who had suddenly appeared at the door. Charles took the band-aid from my hand, half knelt down, held my ankle, and applied it for me. As Charles knelt down, Bella immediately noticed my presence as well. She stood motionless in place, her face pale, like a statue, her delicate face twisted slightly, her beautiful eyes filled with humiliation and embarrassment. Charles took off his suit jacket, draped it over my slightly cold shoulders, and led me off the rooftop. Before leaving, I faintly heard Harry say, "Bella, you're something else." Bella seems to have had a recent image collapse. I heard Harry has already followed his family's arrangements to go on a blind date. Linda lay on the sofa in my bedroom, sipping milk tea and speaking indistinctly. I replied casually while wearing a face mask, "Maybe they just had a fight and will make up in a couple of days." Linda thought for a moment, then leaned in excitedly and asked, "Hey, Charles has been pursuing you so intensely lately. What do you think?" "My parents actually like Bruce quite a bit, but my brother isn't too fond of him." Linda curled her lips. "I don't really like Bruce either. He always gives off a vibe of fake kindness, completely self-serving. Remember that time you fell into the swimming pool? When you went under, Charles looked like he was ready to risk his life, jumping in immediately to save you. Bruce, on the other hand, only stepped in to help after you were already pulled out of the water." My hands, which were applying skincare products, suddenly froze. It wasn't Bruce who saved me, of course not, and it's not like our families have business dealings. I don't know why, but I just feel like this person. I didn't really listen to the rest of what she said. I had always thought it was Bruce who saved me, and when I asked him last time, he didn't deny it either, so it was actually Charles. A few days later, Bruce asked me out for a meal. I looked at the man sitting across from me, but my mind was still on what Linda had said. We were eating quietly when Charles and a few people from his company walked into the restaurant. As soon as he entered, it was as if he had a radar. He spotted me at a glance. Soon after, the group took their seats near us. My body stiffened, and I stole a glance in their direction. He casually leaned back in the chair, lit a cigarette with his fingers. His picturesque face both cold and noble, yet tinged with a hint of loneliness. After finishing the meal, Bruce and I left the restaurant one after the other. The car was parked not far away. Just as we stepped onto the sidewalk, a small car sped toward me. It felt as though my breath stopped in that moment. I stared blankly as the speeding car drew closer and closer, but my feet remained rooted, unable to take a single step to escape. The next second, I was suddenly pulled into a warm embrace. My heart skipped a beat, and I clung tightly to the man in front of me, my mind completely blank. "How long are you going to keep taking advantage of me?" It was only when these words, tinged with laughter, reached my ears that I snapped back to reality. I looked up and saw Charles. I pushed him away forcefully, and he let out a painful groan. Only then did I realize that his arm seemed to be injured. I quickly called the police while driving him to the hospital, completely forgetting about Bruce beside me. After a checkup at the hospital, it was determined that he had a minor fracture in his left forearm. I took Charles home, and feeling guilty, I agreed when he said he really wanted to have the shrimp porridge I make. So, I went to the supermarket to buy shrimp and cooked in his kitchen. The police investigation results were now out. The driver was driving under the influence of alcohol. I sneered coldly. That driver seemed perfectly clear-headed when he hit me. It was obvious he was targeting me. Upon hearing the result, Charles clenched his fingers, his cold and detached eyes filled with frosty anger. I went to the kitchen and brought out the freshly cooked shrimp porridge. Charles scooped up a spoonful with his good hand and took a gentle taste. "The last time I had this was when you made it for me in high school." I lowered my gaze and didn't respond. "Why do you hate me so much now, Sarah? You should at least tell me the reason." "I'm heading home first. Let me know what you'd like to eat tomorrow, and I'll come back to make it for you." I picked up my bag and said, "Don't go." Charles forgot about the injury on his left hand and reached out to me, only to wince in pain. His elbow accidentally knocked over a bowl of scalding shrimp porridge, spilling it all over himself. I quickly grabbed some tissues and wiped the stains off his clothes, afraid that he might get burned. I hurriedly pulled him to the bathroom to rinse with cold water. By the time I realized what was happening, I had one hand lifting his shirt and the other touching his abs. My face instantly flushed bright red, and I stood up straight in embarrassment. Charles had his right hand clenched tightly at his side, his body trembling, and even the tips of his ears were turning red. I grinned, forcing a laugh to cover my awkwardness. "You'd better do it yourself," I said, then rushed out the door. Charles's fracture didn't heal for over a month. He's picky about food, especially when he's sick. To make up for it, I went to his house every day and cooked for him for more than a month. It just so happens that one of my favorite teachers is holding an art exhibition nearby today. After I finished cooking for him, I went to see the art exhibition alone. After leaving the exhibition, I was kidnapped. A sack was placed over my head, and I could only vaguely sense that I seemed to be in a very spacious warehouse. Last time I got into a car accident, I felt something was unusual, so I kept my guard up and set up emergency contacts and location tracking on my watch. My brother and the police should be following the location to find me soon. With my hands tied behind my back, I sat quietly on the wooden chair without making a fuss. The warehouse door slowly opened, and a man with a raspy voice, who sounded like he was in his 40s, began to speak. "I've already captured the person for you. When will you pay the remaining balance?" The man remained silent, so the middle-aged man continued with a menacing tone, "I'm a desperate man. If you don't keep your word, don't blame me for taking you out along with them." A suspicion slowly formed in my mind, and I tentatively said, "Bella." The warehouse fell into a dead silence, and I knew I had guessed correctly. The next second, the sack on my face was roughly removed. There was no one else in the warehouse except for Bella. The blinding light made my eyes water, and Bella patted my face with a cold laugh. "You're quite clever for a supporting female character." Bella turned around, grabbed a bucket of gasoline, and splashed it around me. As she sprinkled, she said casually, "If you hadn't shown up, I would have already completed the strategy mission and gone home." Charles's favorability hasn't moved at all, and the favorability I worked so hard to build with Harry has now dropped to zero. "Sarah, you have no idea how much I wish you could die an even more miserable death. So that's how it is." Pushing me into the swimming pool now has a reasonable explanation. I'm afraid it's because I, as the female supporting character, didn't follow the original malicious plot. So she set me up to establish her innocent female lead persona. Bella's delicate face was full of malice. She curled her lips, lit a lighter, and said softly, "Don't blame me, blame yourself for not getting a better role and blocking my path." With that, she gently tossed it, and the gasoline instantly ignited. At the same time, the warehouse door was kicked open, and Charles and the police rushed into the warehouse one after another. Before Bella could react, she was instantly subdued to the ground. It turned out that after my car accident last time, Charles had arranged for someone to monitor Bella's every move. Charles couldn't wait for the police and rushed into the fire. The beam above my head was engulfed in flames, and I screamed desperately for him to leave. Just as the burning beam was about to fall, Charles rushed to my side, shielding me completely as the heavy timber crashed down on him. I seemed to smell the scent of charcoal on him. He was in so much pain that cold sweat was streaming down, yet he only let out a muffled groan, as if afraid of frightening me, and still softly comforted me, saying, "It's okay." After we were rescued, we were rushed to the hospital. I was fine, but Charles was severely burned. I sat outside the operating room, unable to stop my tears from flowing. After Charles was transferred to the ward, he fell into a coma. I stayed by the hospital bed for days without even changing my clothes, but he still didn't wake up. During this time, Bruce never contacted me once. I thought it might be because of the rumors in our circle that I was disfigured. I didn't care about Bruce. I just took care of Charles every day. Even Aunt James couldn't stand it and urged me to go home and rest for a while. I shook my head and insisted on staying, but Mrs. James urged me to be obedient, go back to take a shower and change clothes, and let her take care of him for me. So that evening, I went back to pack up a bit, grabbed some clean clothes, and returned to the hospital. Looking at Charles lying in bed with his eyes closed, pale and broken, the proudest Charles in the capital, looking at the burns on his body, torn and blistered from saving me, with blood and fluid filling basin after basin, I could no longer hold back my breaking heart, my nose tingling with sorrow. I pressed my face into his palm, sobbing, my voice hoarse and desperate like gravel. "Charles, please wake up. I'll never go against you again. I'll agree to whatever you say. Please, I beg you. Wake up. Can you be my girlfriend?" "Yes, as long as you wake up." After saying that, I sat up straight in a daze, tears blurring my vision. I rubbed my eyes without caring about my appearance. Charles held my hand, a faint smile curling at the corners of his pale lips. "Sarah, you've already agreed. liars are dogs. I frowned and threw myself into his arms, sobbing and weeping. Hearing the commotion, Mrs. James quickly called the doctor to the ward, embarrassed. I withdrew from his embrace and stepped aside, watching as everyone examined him. Mrs. James glanced at Charles, whose gaze was fixed intently on me, then looked at my shy expression, pursed her lips into a smile, and understood everything clearly. Because the James family had been keeping the news under wraps, it wasn't until Charles was about to be discharged from the hospital that everyone learned it wasn't me who had been injured, but Charles. All my childhood friends came to the James family to throw him a discharge party, and it was Jim who suggested it again. Charles held my hand the entire time, his cool face faintly carrying a hint of sweetness. Everyone was amazed by these discoveries, all sighing that even the iceberg of the capital city in love acts just as foolishly as any normal person. After Linda got drunk, she leaned in close to me again to share some girl talk. "Thank goodness you're okay. I couldn't reach you for days. And I was so worried. I left my phone in the warehouse, and it got burned. I haven't had time to get a new SIM card yet." Linda patted my shoulder, looking relieved. "It's good that you're safe. It's good that you're safe. Bella committed intentional murder, so she'll be eating prison food for a while. I heard she kept telling the police that she wanted to see Harry, wanted to see Charles, saying she was the female lead, and that you should be the one going to prison, like a madwoman." I listened thoughtfully to Linda's words. If it were the previous storyline, it would indeed be me going to prison. I looked at Charles in the living room, thinking about the plot in my mind. How could it be so completely different now? Perhaps because I had been thinking about it all day. That very night, I had a dream. The content of the dream turned out to be the outcome after I went to prison. I couldn't bear the loss of my family and ended up committing suicide in prison, and Charles, who had always deeply loved the female lead, upon hearing of my suicide, still coldly said, "She should have died long ago." But then slowly, tears began to fall. This sense of division was as if, beneath the shell of the devoted second male lead, there was a trapped soul weeping for my death. Not many years later, he had an accident on a cruise ship. When the rescue team pulled him out, he was tightly clutching our wedding ring. I woke up crying, and Charles, beside me, tightened his arm around me in his sleep. I leaned into his embrace, tracing his outline with my fingers in the darkness. After thinking for a long time, I couldn't bring myself to doubt his sincerity anymore. "Let's give each other a chance," I thought. Charles's warm breath brushed against my ear. I leaned into his embrace, peacefully falling asleep and enjoying a restful night. Extra story, my silly wife, even after we got married, still believed that she had successfully drugged me that day. I wonder who gave her the terrible idea to drug me. Probably Linda. I also have to thank Linda for her assist. That night, I was half willing and half unwilling, but she stopped midway, saying she had mistaken me for someone else. The next day, I couldn't sleep well all night, and later, rumors started circulating in our circle that I was incapable. Jim came to my office, his gaze drifting downward, and he asked hesitantly, "Charles, you're not really incapable, are you?" I spoke coldly, "Keep looking, and I'll gouge your eyes out." My wife has always felt insecure, both before and after marriage, firmly believing that I have special feelings for Bella. I never told her, but in fact, I often experience auditory hallucinations every time she argues with me. Lashing out with sharp words, it seems as if a voice in my ear tells me to explain things clearly and not miss her again. Since childhood, this voice has guided me to do many things, until I got married and had a dream that felt like a past life, and the voice finally disappeared. I finally understand why my wife has always been so certain that I like Bella, and the fate of this lifetime is something I begged for by breaking through the plot and committing suicide in my previous life. Now we live a happy life, and our second daughter is already of school age, yet she remains as stunningly beautiful as ever. Bella is about to be released from prison, and my wife has recently started having frequent nightmares again, murmuring in her sleep about how Bella once pushed her into the water. So on the day Bella was released from prison, I went to see her. She looked at the burns on my arm and sneered repeatedly. "Sarah didn't see clearly, but I saw it clearly that night, Charles. You are not only ruthless to others, but even more ruthless to yourself," I replied indifferently. "Still, I have to thank you. Without this bitter flesh scheme, she wouldn't have accepted me so quickly." I chuckled lightly and continued, Miss Bella, step out of your all-powerful storyline. If you do something wrong, you must accept the punishment. I'll be waiting for you to get out of prison." Bella froze for a few seconds, her hair disheveled and her expression frantic. Looking at me as if I were some kind of monster. "What are you trying to do? I'm the female lead. It's not supposed to be like this. Why has the plot turned out this way? Why have you all changed your hearts? Why are you all siding with that bitch Sarah? You're all supposed to like me. I just want to go home. Charles, let me go. Please let me go." I watched her hysterics with a cold gaze. Not long after Bella was released from prison, she drowned in a pond, her death agonizing. When my wife heard the news, she couldn't help but sigh with sorrow. I held her hand and changed the subject. "How about we go on a family vacation when our daughter is on break? You've been so busy with your art exhibition lately. How long has it been since you paid any attention to me?" She stuck out her tongue and snuggled into my arms, acting coquettishly. "I'm sorry, honey," holding her close. I felt my heart completely full. This time, I finally hadn't made a mistake. The sunlight outside was just right. This is what happiness should feel like. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. I always feel like something strange has been going on at my house lately. My dad, an elegant university professor, suddenly started practicing sanda in the yard, fiercely striking a row of buckets with "tiger snatches the heart" moves. My mom, a gentle homemaker, began studying modern chemical toxicology, and the smells wafting from the kitchen are comparable to an alchemist's furnace. My brother, a typical corporate drone, started coding frantically, muttering something about physical disconnection from the internet and cloud tombstones, until my deeply affectionate scumbag fiancé pushed me into the swimming pool in front of everyone for his white moonlight. My dad delivered a perfect spinning kick that sent him flying 3 meters away. My mom elegantly pulled out a perfume bottle and sprayed it in his face, and from my brother's laptop came the sound of "target down." I climbed out of the water, wiped my face, and belatedly asked, "Is there something my family is hiding from me?" My name is Lucy, a wealthy heiress with a bit of a romantic streak. If there's anything extraordinary about my life, it's that I have a nearly perfect fiancé, George. He's handsome, wealthy, the heir to the Green Group, and most importantly, he's deeply in love with me. At least, that's what I thought until today, and my family was originally a harmonious one, filled with the scent of books. My father, David, is a tenured professor in the history department at University A. He wears gold-rimmed glasses, is gentle and refined, and his greatest hobbies are polishing walnuts and playing chess. My mother, Fiona, is a retired botanist. Her daily routine involves tending to her flowers and plants, and she always speaks in a soft, gentle tone. My older brother, Harry, is 5 years older than me and works as a programmer at a major internet company, putting in the typical 996 hours. Aside from his receding hairline, he has no other flaws. Our family has always been all about peaceful, serene days. But all of that took a sudden turn 3 months ago. That day, my dad, who was fidgeting with his walnuts, suddenly crushed a pair of priceless antique walnuts into powder with a loud crack. He adjusted his glasses and said to me in a serious tone, "Lucy, starting today, Daddy is going to practice martial arts to get stronger and healthier. Aren't you the one who gets out of breath just from climbing 5 floors?" Then he started his intense training. First, he hired a Sanda coach, but later thought the coach wasn't good enough, so he started practicing by watching videos of martial arts monks online. The rose bushes my mom planted in the yard were trampled to pieces by him, as he used them like plum blossom stakes. His favorite move to shout is, "Mighty Vajrapalm," and every time he strikes, it's accompanied by a powerful, "ha." The neighbor's dog was so scared it didn't dare bark anymore. My mom's change was even more bizarre. She gave up her beloved orchids and roses and turned the balcony into a 100-herb garden. It was filled with all sorts of plants I couldn't name, some even marked with skull warning signs. Her study is filled with books like Forensic Toxicology Research, A Drop Can Be Fatal, and A Detailed Guide to Poisonous Plants for Home and Travel Use. Her cooking style has also changed. It used to be a perfect blend of color, aroma, and taste, but now it's colorful and smoke-filled. Once, She served me a bowl of bright green soup and said gently, "Lucy, come, try Mom's newly developed truth serum soup. It makes people tell the truth." I watched the purple bubbles rising from the bowl of soup and silently dialed the number for the psychiatric hospital. The last one was my brother, Harry. He quit his job, a programmer with an annual salary of $1 million. Just up and quit without a second thought. He locked himself in his room, bought over a dozen high-performance computers, and spent 24 hours a day sitting in his chair, only leaving to use the bathroom. When I got up to drink water in the middle of the night and passed by his room, I could hear the intense sound of keyboard tapping and his sleep-talking. "Dare to mess with my sister, I'll wipe out your server." Virtual kidnapping, psychological attack, "I'll fry your CPU." The Green Group's firewall. It's as flimsy as paper. I said to my parents with concern, "Dad, Mom, is my brother under too much pressure? Should we take him to see a psychologist?" My dad smashed a brick with one palm and said calmly, "No need, your brother is just preparing for the future." My mom shook the test tube in her hand, the liquid inside sizzling. "Yes, your brother is protecting the world's best sister." I was speechless. "I think it might not just be my brother who needs to see a psychologist." I told my fiancé George about my concerns. He gently patted my head and sighed, "Lucy, your uncle, aunt, and Harry might just be entering a new phase of life. Don't worry, I'm here for you." His deep eyes were full of affection, and I was instantly comforted. Look, how wonderful and normal my fiancé is. Compared to my crazy family, he's practically an angel. To help me relax, George specially organized a pool party at his family's estate. All the prominent figures in City A were there. I was wearing a beautiful dress, holding onto George's arm, feeling like the happiest woman in the world. My family also came. My dad was wearing a workout outfit, his muscles bulging and making the clothes look tight. My mom was carrying a vintage medical kit, saying it contained her homemade sunscreen spray and mosquito repellent. My brother carries a backpack with his laptop, which he never leaves behind. The three of them huddled in a corner, forming their own clique, standing out from the other guests with expressions so serious they looked like they were there to collect a debt. I felt a bit awkward, but George, being understanding, said, "It's okay, your uncle and aunt have personality." I like that. I loved him even more. Halfway through the party, George's sister, Amanda, appeared, wearing a white dress and looking pale. Amanda is not George's biological sister. She is the daughter of a family friend. She has been frail and sickly since childhood and has been raised by the Green family as their own daughter. As soon as she appeared, George immediately let go of my hand and nervously went to greet her. "Amanda, what are you doing here? Didn't the doctor tell you to rest?" Amanda smiled weakly, her gaze falling on me with a barely perceptible hostility. "Brother George, it's your party today. How could I not come? Besides, I wanted to see Sister Lucy too." She walked up to me. "Sister Lucy, you're so lucky to have Brother George love you so much." I was about to say something polite when she suddenly stumbled and fell straight toward me. I instinctively reached out to steady her, but she used my support to throw herself into the pool with an exaggerated motion, screaming as she fell. Plop, a loud noise. All eyes were on me. I was stunned. George's face instantly turned ashen. Without even asking me a word, he yelled at me, "Lucy, what are you doing? You know Amanda can't swim." After saying that, without a second thought, he jumped into the water to save her. I stood there, my hands and feet icy cold, my mind completely blank. People around me were pointing and whispering, "Oh my God, is Lucy really that vicious?" Exactly, Amanda is so fragile. How could she bring herself to do that? She usually acts so gentle and sweet. I never expected her to be this kind of person. I was at a loss for words, and tears of grievance welled up in my eyes. Just then, a dark figure flashed past me. It was my father. He had somehow taken off his training clothes, revealing his muscular physique. With a running start, he stepped on a dining table by the pool, leaped into the air, executed a perfect 360-degree spin, and landed a textbook tornado kick squarely on the back of George, who had just pulled Amanda ashore. Bang! George, like a kite with its string cut, flew back to the center of the pool in a faceplant position. The room fell deathly silent. My father landed steadily, adjusted his non-existent glasses, and said coldly, "Sorry, my foot slipped." George flailed in the water a couple of times before being fished out by his bodyguard, coughing as if his lungs were about to burst. His handsome face turned a purplish red, and he pointed at my father, unable to form a complete sentence. You, my mother walked over with an elegant stride, holding a delicate perfume bottle, and sprayed it directly onto George's face. PSSST, PSSST. PSSST, an eerie scent, a mix of cilantro, durian, and stinky tofu, instantly filled the air. George couldn't open his eyes from the spray and let out a pained cry. My mother gently put the bottle back into her bag and said to my father, "Honey, don't take it personally with the younger generation. This newly blended, clear mind and bright eyes perfume I made will help him calm down." Watching George with tears streaming down his face, scratching his head and ears, vomiting and having diarrhea, I fell into deep thought. Mom, you call this clear mind and bright eyes? This is a damn biochemical weapon, isn't it? Amanda lay on the ground, unable to keep pretending, looking at my parents in horror, then turning her pleading gaze toward my brother. In our family, my brother Harry seems to be the most normal and harmless one, she cried, tears streaming down her face like pear blossoms in the rain. Brother Harry, please talk some sense into Uncle and Aunt George. My brother expressionlessly closed his laptop, and the large screen at the party suddenly lit up. A video began to play on a loop. The camera angle is quite tricky, shot from inside a flower pot. It clearly captured how Amanda slipped on her own, deliberately fell onto me, and then jumped into the swimming pool herself. The video even thoughtfully included slow-motion replays and red circle annotations. My brother adjusted his glasses and said in a low voice, which was amplified by the microphone throughout the venue, "Sorry, I was just testing my new product, a fully automated AI system that identifies green tea behavior and generates an evidence chain. It seems to be working quite well." Amanda's face instantly turned deathly pale. George also saw the video. He looked at Amanda in disbelief, then at me, his expression extremely complex. The expressions of all the guests in the room shifted from shock to disdain, and then to the excitement of watching a spectacle, all in just 1 second. I stood behind my martial arts master, Dad, my master poisoner, Mom, and my hacker king, older brother. Like a well-protected fool, I drifted over like a wandering spirit, tugged at my mom's sleeve, and posed a soul-searching question. Is there something our family is hiding from me? My mom lovingly patted my head. No, Lucy, we've just suddenly realized that family should stick together, united against any threat. My dad cracked his knuckles, making a creaking sound. That's right, anyone who dares to bully our Lucy will have to answer to my fists. My brother turned on the computer, and on the screen was the stock chart of the green group, plummeting at an eerie angle. He said, "Physical harm is only temporary, but a business blow is eternal." I was speechless. Fine. Watching George being carried away by the bodyguards, still suffering from severe diarrhea, I suddenly felt that breaking up wasn't so hard to accept after all. On the way home, the car was filled with silence. I curled up in the back seat, feeling like an outsider. My dad, my mom, and my brother are frantically typing in a group chat called Protect Our Lucy Squad. Although they have their phones on silent, I can see the light reflecting off their screens. David, first victory of the day. Wasn't my spinning kick awesome? Fiona, average, not as effective as my one spray and they're down move. At Harry, the video was well shot, but remember to use HD next time. Harry, received. I've already shorted green group stocks. He'll lose at least 9 figures tonight. David, well done. This is just the appetizer. How dare he push our Lucy into the water? I'll make him understand why the flowers are so red. Fiona, seconded. My newly developed hair loss spray and oral potion haven't had a chance to be used yet. Harry, Dad, Mom, calm down. We have to follow the plot and not break character too much, or the world consciousness will notice and kick us out. Lucy hasn't awakened yet. I looked at the words, Lucy hasn't awakened yet, and my heart skipped a beat. Awakened? Awaken what? My Sharingan. After we got home, they pressed me down onto the sofa, poured me a cup of warm milk. And then the 3 of them sat across from me, their expressions so serious it felt like a formal interrogation. Lucy, my dad began, don't take today's incident to heart. A scumbag like George doesn't deserve you. I nodded. Yeah, I'm not upset. I'm just a bit stunned. My mom sighed. It's our fault for startling you, but we had to do it. My brother put it simply, to protect you. I look at the three of them. One resembling a martial arts star, one like a mad scientist, and one like a top-tier hacker, and I simply can't connect them to the peaceful, serene people they used to be. So, what exactly have you been hiding from me? I finally asked. The three exchanged glances, then shook their heads in unison. It's nothing, you're overthinking it. Drink milk. Fine, if you won't tell me, I'll find out myself. That night, George bombarded my phone with calls and messages. Lucy, let me explain. I was just too worried about Amanda at the time. I watched the video. It's my fault. I shouldn't have yelled at you. Will you forgive me? Your family's behavior is too much. We can sit down and talk. But how could they resort to hitting someone? I didn't reply to any of them. I'm not a fool. The video is so clear. Yet he's still making excuses for Amanda and blaming my family. A man like this isn't worth keeping. I blocked him. Then I sneaked over to my brother's room, hoping to eavesdrop on something. But the door wasn't locked. I pushed the door open a crack and saw my brother wearing headphones, video chatting with someone. Right, plot point A has been disrupted. George and Lucy's relationship has developed a rift. Task completion is at 15%. What's the next plot point? Misunderstand the female lead stealing company secrets. The male lead kicks her out of the house. Got it, don't worry, we're prepared this time. My mom has already prepared a potion that can make A4 paper spontaneously combust. My dad is getting ready to work as a security guard at their company, and I'm planning to replace their confidential documents with postpartum care for sows. What plot point? What mission? What is postpartum care for sows? I quietly backed away, my heart pounding. An absurd yet seemingly the only reasonable thought surfaced in my mind. Could it be that my family, rebirth, time travel, or possessed by aliens? To test my hypothesis, I began to observe secretly. I discovered that our family had added a whiteboard with a huge relationship diagram drawn on it. My photo was in the very center, with the words, Ultimate Protection Target, Lucy, written above it, extending from my profile picture. There are several branches. The largest branch points to George, with a label attached, Top Scumbag / Target A. Below him are a bunch of notes, such as, Weakness, Amanda, Achilles heel, Company Stock Price, and Ultimate Skill, PUA Tactics. Another branch points to Amanda, labeled, Ultimate White Lotus / Green Tea Boss. The notes read, Skills, Tripping on Flat Ground, Whimpering, Heartache, and Equipment, Frail Body. Beyond that, there are villainous B/C, cannon fodder male characters B/C, densely packed, like a game strategy map, while my parents and my brother are on the other side. Their code names are Combat Specialist, Spell/Debuff Specialist, and Tech/Crowd Control Specialist, respectively. Their battle plan is clearly written. Phase 1, Sabotage the Scumbag's White Moonlight's initial setup incident, completed. Phase 2, Counter the Scumbag's business suppression and frame-up attempts, in progress. Phase 3, Prevent the core heart-wrenching plot of kidney transplant for the White Moonlight, key point. Phase 4, Launch a full-scale counterattack. Acquire the Green family's company, and ruin the Scumbag's reputation. Satisfying moment. I looked at the title, Kidney Transplant for the White Moonlight, and shuddered all over. Whose kidney is being transplanted? Could it be mine? It's confirmed. I'm not living in a normal world. I'm living in a novel, a classic, cliché-ridden tragic novel filled with all the dramatic elements, a scumbag male lead, a White Moonlight character, a vicious female rival, false accusations, and even kidney theft. And I am that hopelessly naive, love-struck, self-sacrificing female protagonist who suffers endlessly. No wonder George was so good to me. It was all for my healthy kidney. No wonder my family's personalities changed so drastically. They've transmigrated into the book. They came with the script to save me. Having figured all this out, I wasn't scared. Instead, I felt a little like laughing. My family, in order to protect me, the native, went to great lengths. They didn't dare tell me the truth directly, afraid that that NPC, wouldn't be able to handle it and my data would get messed up, so they had to act while quietly clearing obstacles for me behind the scenes. I leaned against the wall, tears streaming down my face, half moved, half amused. What kind of saintly female lead is this? What kind of being tormented 1,000 times? To hell with it, I, Lucy, from today onward, am no longer an NPC, I want to join the Protect Our Lucy squad. I've decided to take the initiative. The next morning at breakfast, I showed up in the dining room with dark circles under my eyes, looking utterly exhausted. My parents and my brother all looked at me with concern. Lucy, what's wrong? Didn't sleep well. My mom served me a bowl of porridge. Are you still upset about that jerk George? My dad's fists clenched again. I put down my spoon and spoke in an extremely sorrowful, perfectly fitting tone for a tragic novel heroine. Dad, Mom, brother. I thought about it for a long time. George, he must have his reasons. He was just temporarily blinded by Amanda. I'm going to find him. I need to ask him and clear everything up. After I finished speaking, I carefully observed the expressions on all three of their faces. Sure enough, their faces turned pale. The fried dough stick in my dad's hand snapped with a sharp crack. My mom's spoon clattered into her bowl. My brother's glasses nearly slipped off his nose. The Protect Our Lucy squad group chat must be blowing up right now. I can already imagine their conversation. David, damn, is the plot's inertia this strong? We've gone this far. How can Lucy still be hung up on that scumbag? Fiona, miscalculation, underestimated the strength of the love-struck brain. Debuff. Harry, alert, alert. The female lead's Mary Sue halo is forcibly activating, automatically repairing the disrupted plotline. I struggled to hold back my laughter. I know you mean well for me, but matters of the heart cannot be resolved with violence. I will use my love to win him over. I clenched my fists, my eyes resolute, on the verge of tears. My father suddenly stood up, looking utterly heartbroken as if thinking, this hopeless case is beyond teaching. Lucy, you're so foolish. My mother clutched her chest, looking as devastated as if the cabbage I planted has been trampled by a pig. My silly daughter. My brother held his forehead, looking utterly defeated as if he'd encountered a bug in his code. It's over, we're done for. The little person inside my head was already rolling on the floor laughing. I've decided, I'm going to find him right now, I said, rushing out the door. The three of them immediately rushed over and grabbed me by the waist to hold me back. You can't go. Going is just asking for trouble. Lucy, calm down. I pretended to struggle, but in reality, I was enjoying the sight of their extreme anxiety. Finally, exhausted from struggling, I collapsed on the sofa and, with all my might, shouted that earth-shattering line, I'm coming clean, no more pretending, I'm an actor too. 3 people, 6 eyes, staring at me as if I were an alien. I cleared my throat, crossed my legs, picked an apple from the fruit bowl, and took a big bite. Dad, your spinning kick isn't cool enough. Add a Thomas Flare next time. Mom, your biochemical weapon is too pungent and could easily give us away. Next time, try something odorless and tasteless. Bro, shorting his stocks isn't enough. Change his computer desktop to Ultraman and socially destroy him. I paused, looking at their stunned expressions, and grinned. Protect Our Lucy squad, applying to join the team now. Can I get a spot? Our family held another family meeting, but the atmosphere this time was completely different from the last. The whiteboard was pushed to the center of the living room, and I had my own red marker. So, you all collectively transmigrated into this early period abusive novel called The CEO's Scapegoat Wife 3 months ago. I circled the book title. The 3 of them nodded like chicks pecking at rice. You became the cannon fodder family in the book, and your fate was to be ruined by the male lead after I was abused to death. The 3 of them nodded with a mix of grief and indignation. And I am that Mary Sue protagonist Lucy who had her kidney removed, suffered a miscarriage, jumped into the sea, got disfigured, and in the end, contracted a terminal illness, died in the male lead's arms, forcing a happy ending. The 3 of them covered their chests, nodding with unbearable sympathy. I slammed the pen down on the table with a smack. Does the author have a screw loose? How can that possibly be a happy ending? Who says it isn't? My father said indignantly. If we don't scatter that scumbag's ashes to the wind, it would be a disgrace to the 9-year compulsory education promoted by the state. I've studied it, my mother said calmly, pushing up her glasses. According to the description in the book, with Lucy's physical condition, she wouldn't survive more than 3 months after having a kidney removed. The author ignored basic medical science just to force an ending. Logic doesn't matter. My brother cut to the chase. In this kind of story, emotional value is what's most important. It's all about making readers curse the female lead for being foolish while still feeling sorry for her, and curse the male lead for being a scumbag while still being moved when he turns over a new leaf. It's all about that self-degrading literature. Our whole family, united in our hatred, launched a profound critique of the author who doesn't even exist. After the critique, I began to get down to business. Now that I also know the plot, we don't have to be sneaky anymore. From today on, we are the Avengers. I picked up a pen and wrote these 5 big words heavily on the whiteboard. Great. My dad rubbed his hands together eagerly. Then I'll be Iron Fist Dad. Then I am the toxic queen. My mother curled her lips into a dangerous smile. My brother thought for a moment. I'll go with keyboard warrior. Me, bro. Can't you be a bit more imposing? How about code overlord? All right, that's the one. I made the final decision, and I am the awakened vicious Lucy. Fine, then, the first battle meeting of the Avengers Alliance begins now. I pointed at the second phase plan on the whiteboard, dealing with the scumbags' commercial suppression and false accusations. Brother, what's the specific plot? My brother pulled up a document on his computer, a meticulously organized outline of the original book's plot, dense with details. According to the original plot, after the pool incident, George, influenced by Amanda's instigation, will suppress our Lynn group. At the same time, he will set a trap, having you come into contact with a fake confidential business document, then frame you for theft. Using this as an excuse, he will drive you out of the Lynn family, leaving you with nothing. So you have no choice but to depend on him. I listened with amazement. This scumbag has quite the deep game. My dad sneered. Child's play. Before he can suppress us, we'll just take down his company first, won't we? No, my brother vetoed. We can't deviate too far from the main storyline, or the world's consciousness might correct it, possibly leading to even more troublesome accidents. The best approach is to play along with his scheme. How exactly do we turn the tables? My mom asked. A glint of light flashed across my brother's glasses. He wants to frame Lucy for stealing confidential information, right? Let him. But we'll need to tweak that confidential information a bit. His fingers flew across the keyboard, and a very professional-looking project proposal appeared on the screen. The title is Feasibility Report on the Joint Development of the Full Body Transformation Beauty Project by Green Group and Balala Magic Fairy Castle. I was speechless. My brother. If he dares to open this file, I can instantly lock his computer and have this report loop on every screen in their entire company via projection, with the soundtrack of Little Magic Fairy Full Body Transformation. My mom's eyes lit up. That's perfect. Social death is more torturous than physical harm. I'll add a little gift, like making his keyboard electrified and coating his mouse with super glue. My dad looked a bit disappointed. Then what do I do? I patted him on the shoulder and said earnestly, Dad, your task is the most challenging. You're responsible for rushing into his office when George is socially ruined, using parental concern as an excuse to record him, capturing his finest moment. My dad's eyes instantly lit up. The 4 of us in the family looked at the battle plan and let out villainous, hee laughter. With the plan finalized, I began my duties as the abuse novel female lead, actively contacting the scumbag. I sent a text to George. George, can we meet? I want to hear your explanation. As expected, he replied instantly, Lucy, I knew you still cared about me. Where are you? I'll come find you right away. I replied with the address of a cafe and gave my family an okay sign. My brother immediately started tracking George's phone signal and hacked into the cafe's surveillance system. My mom then took out a small bottle from her medical kit and dripped 2 drops onto my palm. This is the 1-minute truth serum. It's colorless and odorless, and it takes effect through skin contact. If he grabs your hand later, everything he says in the next minute will be the truth. Remember, it only lasts for 1 minute. Mom, you're just like Doraemon. My dad, on the other hand, put on a security guard uniform, wore sunglasses, and went to the cafe in advance to scout the location, claiming it was to protect the witness. When I arrived at the cafe, George was already there. He looked a bit haggard, but upon seeing me, he immediately put on a deeply affectionate expression. Lucy, you finally agreed to see me. He reached out to grab my hand. The opportunity had arrived. I inadvertently let him touch my palm. George, about that party, I started, but he cut me off. Lucy, I'm sorry, I love you, I truly love you. The effects of the medicine probably haven't kicked in yet, I continued. But you yelled at me because of Amanda, that was me being an ass. I was frantic at the time. Amanda has always had poor health since she was a child, and I treat her like my own sister. As he said this, his eyes suddenly became somewhat unfocused, and his mouth began to move uncontrollably. I just think her delicate and fragile appearance makes people want to protect her. Unlike you, although you seem gentle, your family is too fierce and not easy to control at all. Plus, Amanda really admires me. Her eyes are full of stars when she looks at me. Unlike you, who sometimes even dare to talk back to me. Most importantly, it's hard to find a kidney donor for Amanda, and the doctor said yours is a very high match for hers. He suddenly covered his mouth mid-sentence, looking at me in horror. The cafe was very quiet, and the people at the nearby tables had all heard what he just said. Everyone looked at me with sympathy in their eyes. His gaze was filled with contempt. I looked at him expressionlessly, mentally planting the flag of Neo-Hurulu on the peak of victory. George, I stood up, looking down at him. I must have been blind before. With that, I poured a glass of water over his head. This one is for me. Then I picked up the coffee in front of him and poured it out as well. This one is for my parents and my brother. You. He was in a sorry state, trembling with anger. I turned and walked away, leaving behind a cool silhouette. At the door, my father, dressed in a security guard uniform, gave me a thumbs up. Satisfying. After the truth-telling incident at the cafe, George didn't give up. Instead, he accelerated his actions. He probably thought I was completely disappointed in him and that if he didn't act now, he'd miss his chance. Soon, several major projects of the Lin Group inexplicably ran into problems. Partners suddenly broke their contracts, and the bank pressed for loan repayments. My parents and my brother pretended to be overwhelmed, holding meetings at home every day. As for me, I followed the script, playing the tragic role of having to bow to a scumbag for the sake of the family business. I contacted George again. This time, I didn't wait for him to speak and started crying directly. George, our family's company is about to collapse. My parents' hair turned white overnight. I know it was all you're doing. Please, could you let our family go? On the other end of the phone, George remained silent for a moment, then said slowly, with the air of a victor, Lucy, if you want me to spare the Lin family, it's not impossible. Come work at my company as my personal assistant. As long as you behave, I might consider halting the acquisition. The fish has taken the bait. Okay, I promise you, I said with a choked voice. The next day, I officially joined the Green Group, with the position of executive assistant to the CEO. George gave me a pile of messy tasks, clearly just to torment me. I accepted it all and acted submissive and pitiful. 3 days later, he finally showed his true colors. He handed me a USB drive. Lucy, this is our company's core project plan for the next quarter, top secret. I need you to take it to the print shop in the west of the city and make 10 copies. Remember, you must go in person and not let anyone else handle it. I looked at the USB drive, feeling completely unperturbed, even a little amused. Here it comes, the setup for the frame-up. It's here. I hesitated for a moment, then nodded obediently. Okay. I took the USB drive and walked out of the office. As soon as I entered the elevator, I pulled out another identical USB drive and the micro card reader my brother gave me from my bag. Code Master, the target has been acquired, requesting data replacement. I sent a message in the family group chat. Received. 5 seconds to get it done. 5 seconds later, my brother replied, replacement complete, Bala Bala energy, injection successful, wishing him a pleasant transformation. I put away the original USB drive and took the replaced one to the print shop in the west of the city. Of course, the print shop was also scouted in advance by my dad. The owner is my dad's chess buddy and fully cooperated with our act. The surveillance footage captured my theft of confidential information from every angle without any blind spots. I returned to the company with the photocopied documents and handed them directly to George. He checked them and smiled with satisfaction. Lucy, you can leave work early today. The board meeting tonight will run very late. Okay, President. I obediently left. At 8 p.m., in the top floor conference room of Green Group, My brother hacked into their meeting system and streamed the live footage to our living room TV. Our family of four, holding watermelons and munching on chips, watched George's performance as if it were a movie. On the screen, George stood up with great enthusiasm and said with deep regret, "Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I regret to inform you that there is a mole in our company. She has stolen our core secrets for the next quarter." He immediately played the surveillance footage from the print shop. In the video, I was sneakily photocopying documents. The board members were in an uproar. Who is this person? That girl from the Lin family. How could she do something like this? George was quite pleased with the effect. He cleared his throat and said, "Don't worry, everyone. I've already retrieved the confidential documents. Now, I'll show you our grand blueprint." He inserted the USB drive into the computer and opened the document titled Feasibility Report on the co-branded Full Body Transformation Cosmetics Project by Green Group and Balala Magic Fairy Castle. The stirring music, however, did not play. Instead, a cheerful and lively BGM began to play. Bala Bala Energy, Shero Shero, Little Magic Fairy, transformed completely on the huge projection screen. The pink PPT background, the bouncing cartoon font, and the image of the Magic Fairy Queen instantly dazzled everyone. In the meeting room, there was a deathly silence. The expression on George's face shifted from confidence, to shock, to terror, and finally to contortion. He frantically hammered at the keyboard, trying to shut down the PowerPoint, but it was useless. My brother's voice, coming through the conference room speakers, echoed eerily, "Friendly reminder. Unplugging the power now will trigger the motherboard's self-destruct program. Please enjoy the full version. Thank you." Then, George's computer, along with all the directors' phones and tablets in the room, began to simultaneously loop the music video of Little Magic Fairy Full Body Transformation. The catchy music filled the entire conference room. One director couldn't hold back and burst out laughing with a pft sound. Then, like a domino effect, the entire conference room erupted in uproarious laughter. At that moment, the conference room door was kicked open. My dad, wearing a righteous security guard uniform, rushed in holding his phone, live streaming the whole thing. "Freeze, we've received a report that there's an illegal gathering here, spreading inappropriate animations. Everyone, put your hands on your head and squat down, especially you, the one presenting the slides. Smile for the camera, yes, give us a smile." In front of the TV, the three of us in the family laughed so hard we nearly dropped our melon seeds. That night, the president of the Green Group publicly played a video of Balala the Fairies during a board meeting, which went viral throughout the financial circles of City A. My brother casually replaced all the files on his computer with a resource pack of Pleasant Goat and Big Big Wolf and set them to be undeletable. The IT department of the Green Group worked tirelessly for 3 days and 3 nights, only to tearfully announce that the president's computer could only be used for watching cartoons. After this incident, George stayed quiet for a long time. The crisis of the Lin Group was naturally resolved. Our family enjoyed a brief period of peace. My dad started studying Tai Chi, saying he wanted to cultivate both internally and externally. My mom began experimenting with combining poison and food, developing a tiramisu that makes you stand on your head and have diarrhea after eating. My brother, on the other hand, became obsessed with developing all kinds of silly apps, such as one click to Photoshop a green hat onto someone you dislike, and automatically identify and clap back at player lines, which actually garnered quite a few downloads. As for me, I started enjoying life, shopping, getting beauty treatments, and having afternoon tea. Occasionally, I would ponder a question: Dad, Mom, brother, do you think there are other transmigrators in this world besides us? I asked during one of our afternoon tea sessions. Probably not, right? My dad said uncertainly. This kind of thing is like winning the lottery. For all 3 of us to hit the jackpot is already a miracle. My mom stirred her coffee. Hard to say. The world is vast, and anything is possible. My brother, however, was more analytical. Statistically speaking, the probability is extremely low. But from the tropes of web novels, it's highly likely. For example, a reborn female supporting character or a villain with a system might show up. As soon as he finished speaking, my brother's phone rang. He answered the phone, listened for a few moments, and his expression suddenly turned grave. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Amanda." My brother put down his phone. his expression serious. She's been hospitalized. We exchanged a glance, both of us sensing something was wrong. What illness? Acute renal failure. An immediate kidney transplant is needed. He's here, the most crucial, most dramatic, and most heart-wrenching plot point of the entire book. The kidney transplant for the White Moonlight is finally about to unfold. Prepare for battle. I slammed the table and stood up. We rushed to the hospital. Outside the ward, we saw George with bloodshot eyes. When he saw me, it was as if he had spotted a savior. He rushed over and grabbed my arm. Lucy, you're here. Great. The doctor said your kidney is the best match for Amanda's. Before I could say a word, my dad had already delivered a chop to the back of George's neck. George rolled his eyes and collapsed limply. My father caught him and dragged him to an empty room next door, as if hauling a dead dog. Done, no one will disturb us now. We walked into Amanda's hospital room. She lay on the hospital bed, her face pale, looking pitiful. Upon seeing us, a flicker of panic flashed in her eyes. But she quickly composed herself and spoke weakly. Sister Lucy, what brings you here? Where is Brother George? My mother stepped forward, taking a syringe from the medical kit and aiming it at her bag. Stop pretending. My mother's voice was icy. This acute kidney failure of yours came at such a convenient time, didn't it? Did you inject yourself with something? Amanda's expression instantly changed. You? What are you talking about? I don't understand. You don't understand. My brother sneered, opening his laptop and turning it toward her. Do I need to make your overseas medication purchase records and your chat history with something called the Transmigration Counterattack System public? On the computer screen, there was clearly a chat log between Amanda and a dialog box glowing with blue light. System, warning, warning, the plot has been severely disrupted. Host, please immediately initiate the core plot, kidney transplant, or the mission will fail. Amanda, got it. I'm injecting the kidney-damaging drug now. I'll be in the hospital soon. System, excellent. Once you successfully replace Lucy's kidney, you'll not only gain a healthy body but also win all of George's love. Mission reward, 1 million points. Amanda stared at the computer screen. Her face drained of color, and screamed, impossible. How could you know? My dad, and my mom were all shocked. Holy shit, it really is a villain with a system. How many unscientific things are stuffed into this lousy book? Are you also a transmigrator? I asked the key question, seeing that the truth was exposed. Amanda simply dropped the act. She leaped up from the hospital bed, showing no trace of weakness whatsoever. She glared at me fiercely. That's right, I'm a transmigrator. Why were you born a rich heiress with a loving family, while I was an orphan in my past life who died of illness in a rented room? The female lead of this book should have been me. George is mine. Everything from the Lynn family should be mine too. She looked utterly deranged. My family and I exchanged glances, and we all saw the same 3 words in each other's eyes. Crazy. So, to steal my life, you're willing to harm your own body and even take my kidney. I simply couldn't understand her way of thinking. To the victor go the spoils. Why not? Amanda shrieked. Of course. Why not? My mother slowly injected the medication from the syringe into the bag, but before that, why not try the 3-day Northern Myanmar experience package I've prepared for you? Amanda's face changed color. What did you inject me with? Nothing, my mom said with a gentle smile. It's just a special anesthetic that can put someone into a deep sleep for 72 hours. By the time you wake up, you'll already be in a banana plantation in a foreign land, experiencing the joy of peeling bananas. Amanda's eyes widened more and more, but her body grew weaker and weaker, until finally, with a thud, she collapsed onto the bed, sleeping like a log. Done, my mom said, clapping her hands. At that moment, George, who had been knocked out by my dad, also woke up and stumbled into the room. He saw Amanda lying on the bed and was horrified. Amanda, what have you done to her? My brother stepped forward, patted him on the shoulder, and stuffed an airline ticket and a Southeast Asian banana plantation work contract into his arms. Nothing much, just thought that since you and Amanda are as close as gold, you should share both joy and hardship. We signed you 2 up for a couple's tour. Destination, Myanmar. Wishing you a pleasant journey and a happy union for 100 years. Before George could react, my dad delivered another chop to the back of his neck. Bang. How many steps does it take to send the scumbag and the White Lotus to peel bananas in Myanmar? Step 1, knock them out. Step 2, contact my brother's hacker friend to forge their identities, arrange the flight tickets and contracts. Step 3, summon my dad's newly hired ex-special forces bodyguard, stuff them into sacks, and load them onto a private jet bound for Myanmar. The whole process went smoothly and took less than an hour. After finishing everything, the four of us sat on the hospital bench, eating the lovingly prepared bento my mom brought, feeling incredibly relaxed. Dad, Mom, bro, I said sincerely, I love you. Family doesn't need to speak in formalities, my dad said as he picked up a piece of braised pork for me. Exactly. My mom handed me a bottle of her homemade IQ Up walnut milk. Next time something like this happens, don't shoulder it alone. We are your strongest support, my brother said succinctly. But he quietly set a newly created website named Lucy's Global Anti-Scumbag Support Group as his homepage. Then, what about the Green Group? I asked. With George and Amanda, the key figures, gone, the plot of the book has basically fallen apart. What else can we do? My dad threw down the bone, brimming with confidence. We'll acquire it. But our Lin Group mainly focuses on physical industries, which doesn't align with Green Group's internet finance business. I hesitated. Who said we have to use the Lin Group's name? My brother adjusted his glasses. I used the money I made from shorting Green Group stocks and developing the app to register an investment company. With George, the CEO, suddenly vanishing into thin air, Green Group is now leaderless, and its stock price has plummeted. It's the perfect time to buy low, my mom added. I've already contacted a few trusted old friends. Their family businesses are also very interested in Green Group's operations. We can form a League of Lady Vengeance and divide it up together. My dad slapped his thigh and said, that's a great idea. I'll be in charge of performing a chest-crushing stone stunt during the acquisition negotiations to boost our side's momentum. I said, Dad, that's really not necessary. Over the next month, the business world in City A underwent earth-shattering changes. The once leading enterprise, the Green Group, saw its stock price plummet due to internal turmoil after its president, George, mysteriously disappeared, reportedly having eloped with his mistress after embezzling funds. Just when everyone thought the Green family was doomed, a mysterious investment company named God emerged out of nowhere, with lightning speed. It joined forces with several established enterprises and acquired over 60% of the Green Group's shares at a bargain price, becoming the largest shareholder. At the inauguration ceremony of the new chairman, Lucy, dressed in a sharp suit, stepped up to the podium. In the audience sat my father, the new group security advisor, my mother, the new director of the Legal and Drug Monitoring Department, and my brother, the new CEO and CTO of the group. Under the flashing lights, I looked at the business elites in the audience who had once pointed fingers at me and flashed a standard, vicious Lucy smile. Hello everyone. I am the founder of God Investment and the new chairman of the Green Group, Lucy. Starting today, the Green Group will undergo a comprehensive reform. First, we need to change the company's name. Let's call it Anti-PUA, Anti-Love Brain, Building a Better Life Co., Ltd. The entire room fell into complete silence. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.